7-seat premium SUVs. They've got it all. Luxury, power, comfort, and most of all, space.
But which did you choose between the new Land Rover Discovery, the Audi Q7 or the Volvo XC90? I kind of feel like I'm stood in the car park of Waitrose in Chiswick.
To help you decide the right one for you, I'm going to critique their designs.
It makes you go, ooh.
See how practical they are.
And then if you want to, you can sit on that and watch the races.
Check out their cabins.
I mean, look, there's tech everywhere.
Test what they're like to drive.
Oh, so you need to go a little bit slower. This is a Discovery, don't you know?
And even find out which car has the most commanding driving position.
Ooh!
But let's start off with some numbers.
The Audi starts at just under £50,000. The Volvo, that starts from just under £49,000, but the Land Rover Discovery, that starts from £44,000. However, what really matters is the price you pay at a dealer. So if you click up there, you can go to carwow.co.uk, you can fill in your details and dealers will come back to you with the best price they can do on the cars, and then you can compare offers without having to haggle.
However, while the Land Rover might have the lowest starting price, that basic car doesn't even have leather seats nor satellite navigation, which is shocking at this price. In fact, when you match these three cars for equipment and engines, the Discovery works out to be the most expensive. But does it seem the most expensive?
I'm not convinced by the look of this new Discovery. Like the front a lot, most of the side's pretty good as well, but the rear end, it's just a little bit bulbous.
So, the Discovery looks like a Notre Dame bell ringer, but at least it's got more presence than an apologetic Audi Q7.
It looks a bit more like an estate car that's eaten all the pies rather than a tough, rugged SUV.
And that's where the XC90 comes in. It has bulges in all the right places, and none where it shouldn't.
There was once a time when Volvos were seen as being boring looking cars, but not anymore. I mean, this XC90 is such a fabulous looking thing, especially in this R design trim. It makes you go, ooh.
So it's all great from the outside, but is the Volvo just as appealing on the inside?
This XC90 has a very typically Swedish minimalistic design. It's simple, but in this dark colour, I think it's just a little bit boring. It's much better in the lighter colours. And the quality, you know, it's good, it's really good, but it's just not quite as good as in the other two cars. However, it's the opposite with the seats. The seats in this Volvo are lovely, and I love the fact that they've got this little Swedish flag on them as well, just to remind you of where the car's from, in case you didn't know.
There's no mistake in the infotainment system either, as the portrait touchscreen layout really sets it apart. However, some of the buttons are a little too small and fiddly to use while you're driving. I can't fault the optional Bowers & Wilkins stereo upgrade though. It has a Gothenburg concert hall mode, and it's incredible. The upgraded sound system in the Land Rover is epic too, and its infotainment system is a little easier to operate with its more traditional landscape layout. This one is the premium 10-inch system, which you'll have to pay extra for on some models, but it's worth it as it's slick and easy to use. And so is the rest of the Land Rover's cabin.
There's a genuine luxury feel here in the front of the Discovery. It does feel like a posh car to sit in, and there's some really nice features as well. You get a double glove box. There's an extra one above the normal glove box up here. And look at this, you've got a special cubby in here as well. And if you look under here, there's another huge area you can store stuff. And this car has a fridge under there. Perfect.
The Discovery is by far the best here for cubby spaces, but the other two aren't bad at all. The Volvo's glove box opens electrically and gets a big bin between the front seats to hide valuable items from view. The Audi's highlights are an enormous glove box and space for a couple of big bottles in every door bin. This is a cabin that's very well thought out.
I quite like the design of the inside of this Q7, but what really stands out is the quality, which is just a cut above the rest. I mean, everything feels so well made. There's some nice touches as well, such as this large air vent there. If you press this button, you then get diffuse air just wafting out of it, rather than getting blasted like you do from the other vents. And then there's the tech. I mean, look, there's tech everywhere. It's just a technological tour de force.
Unlike the other two, the Audi's infotainment system uses a click wheel to access the menus, and this is easier to use while driving than a touchscreen. The system is also the quickest and the menus the best laid out. Then there's the amazing digital dials of the optional virtual cockpit. This will cost you £600 extra, but it's well worth it. So that's the front seats dealt with, but what about the other two rows? These are 7-seater SUVs after all. So let's start with the newest car here, the Land Rover.
This Discovery is easily roomy enough, but I do have a few issues with it, and it's mainly with the middle row. For instance, they're not all individual seats. These two are joined together, only this one moves separately. And then there's the floor. It just seems too high, so you have quite a sharp angle with your knees. So you feel like you're a little bit low down, and you can't actually stretch out much because these front seats seem quite low. You have to get people to jack them up quite a way, and the driver might not want to do that. All is forgiven though when you move into the rear. So I have to do this to get the seat to slide forward. It takes a little bit of time, but it's still very easy to get into the back. But the best thing about this Discovery is the fact that when you pull the seat back, there is absolutely loads of room back here. Got lots of knee room. Headroom's good as well. This is genuinely fine for adults here in the back.
Even if you have to stick a child seat in the middle row, which thanks to the big doors is easily done, there's still plenty of room in the very back. In fact, if you regularly carry 6 passengers, that brilliant third row makes the Land Rover the best here. However, if you only need those 2 back seats every once in a while, the Audi is the best.
The Q7 is the best of the 3 cars in the middle row, without doubt. So I can recline my seat, and look at this, I can really just relax. And all these seats, they move individually as well. Thing is though, if you want to get into the back, things aren't so good then. So to actually get into the back, it's a bit of a process. I've got to do that. I've got to, come on, do this. I get a beep to tell me that I'm getting into the back, I don't know why. And then when I'm in the back, I need to pull this down. Ow! No! No! Yes. It's not so good back here. Yeah, it's actually the worst of the 3 in the back. Shame. Some you win, some you lose. I've lost this one right now.
However, you'll be winning with the Audi if you travel 3 up in the middle row, even for those in the centre seat. Also, the Audi is unique because it has ISOFIX mounts on all 6 passenger seats. Perfect if you've had 6 top splits. The doors open nice and wide, so a child seat is dead easy to fit wherever you put it. The Volvo doesn't have as many ISOFIX points as the Audi, and the fixings aren't quite as easy to get to, but the huge doors means it's one of the most child seat friendly cars on the market. But what's it like for adults?
There's plenty of room here in the middle row of the XC90, and you can slide all the chairs individually and recline them, of course. I like this particular feature. Look, you can get a little booster seat for kids. Look at that. That's a great idea, isn't it? What's not so great is the fact there's no climate control for people back here, and charging sockets, you've only really got this 12 volt down here. I can't complain about how easy it is to get into the back though. It's the simplest of all 3 cars. You just do that and you are in. Once you're in, knee room, even with the chairs folded back, is okay. Problem's headroom, it's a little bit tight. Even Volvo says this car is really for only people that are up to 170 centimetres in the back, and I'm 179 centimetres, so that's why that's like that.
Still, the middle row is big enough for full-sized people, but it isn't quite perfect. Even if you don't make use of that optional booster seat, passengers in the middle chair are perched a little bit too high, and the cabin isn't as wide as the Discovery's, so shoulder room is tighter. But the Volvo takes back some points when you move around to the boot.
One of the problems with these 7-seater cars is that you wouldn't be able to carry 7 people and all their luggage. But it's less of an issue with the Volvo because with all the seats in place, it does have the largest boot. There's a couple of useful features such as some underfloor storage there, and this thing that does that. That's actually more useful when you've got these other seats folded down because then it acts as a divider.
In 7-seat mode, the XC90 has easily enough room for a couple of small suitcases or even a baby buggy. Fold the back row down and it's massive, and with all the seats folded, you can fit all this stuff in. However, the Volvo can't quite match the sheer load capacity of the boxier Land Rover in 2-seat or 5-seat mode. Though, the Disco's boot is smaller than the XC60's with all the seats in place, and this was the case with this car's predecessor. However, there is something that's changed.
The old Land Rover Discovery used to have a split tailgate, and owners used to love that. This one doesn't have it, unfortunately, but to make up for it, well, try to anyway, Land Rover have fitted this car with this little ledge which folds down. There you go. And then if you want to, you can sit on that and watch the races.
When it comes to the space race though, the Audi comes last.
With all 7 seats in place, the Audi's boot is the smallest of the 3. But it's easy to fold down the rear seats because you do it electrically, and that's standard on all models. You just have to wait for it to do its thing, that's all.
Another good thing about the Audi is that it has the lowest load height, so while it may not quite match the other two for outright load capacity, it's still easily big enough and the easiest to load. Thing is, height matters with these cars. You buy them for their lofty driving position. So, how do these three measure up? Literally.
So the maximum seat height in the Audi is 70 centimetres. In the Volvo, it's 72 centimetres. And finally, in the Land Rover, the maximum seat height is, oh my God, it's 82 centimetres. That's a big difference.
So, the Land Rover is the king of the seat height contest, and it's easily the best car to drive off-road. It can do stuff like this, and this. But how often are you going to need to do any of that stuff in real life?
There's just something regal about driving a Land Rover Discovery. You're sat up high in your throne and oh yeah, you know, you're just isolated from the hubbub of the outside. You get air suspension as standard, so you're floating down the road, being rocked slightly, and it's nice and quiet, even when you're whipping at the motorway at speed. Now you can get a 2-litre diesel, which is okay, but you want the 3-litre V6 in this car because it's just smoother, it's punchier, and I'm still getting 32 miles per gallon, which isn't bad considering how big this car is. Just don't go throwing it into corners because, yeah, the Discovery doesn't like to be hurried through the bends. It just rolls about too much and you can really feel the car's weight. And if you do try to go a bit too quickly down a twisty road, the ESP stability control keeps on cutting in to brake the wheels, to slow it down. It's as if it's going, excuse me sir, can you be a little bit more careful? And you need to be a little bit more careful when you're driving this car through busy city streets because the sheer size of it means you're not going to be fitting through too many gaps in traffic.
Step out of the Discovery and into the XC90 and straight away it feels less intimidating to drive.
For a big car, the XC90 is much easier to pilot around town than you think. Also, it's surprisingly good in the corners as well. You don't feel like you're rolling about like a boat on a rough sea like you do in some other SUVs. The trade-off though is the suspension is kind of firm. It's not helped on this car by the fact it's riding on 20-inch alloy wheels. Though you can upgrade to air suspension, yeah, you still do feel the bumps a bit more than you do in some rival cars. The engines are all 2-litre. 4-cylinder units, and the diesel in this car is, well, it's fast enough when you put your foot down. It's just that it's a little bit noisy when you rev it out, and despite the fact it's quite a smallish engine, the MPG isn't all that great either, so I'm getting 34 miles per gallon, which is respectable but not amazing. Then there's the wind and road noise, which is just a touch more noticeable than in some other premium cars. Still, you can always turn up the brilliant stereo to drown it out.
So the Volvo is pretty impressive for a big SUV from behind the wheel, but the Audi is a step ahead.
This Audi Q7 is definitely the best of the three cars to drive on the road. It's a fact. It handles with even more confidence than the Volvo, yet it's quieter and it's more comfortable than the Land Rover Discovery, and this car is helped because it's got the optional air suspension, but even the normal setup is pretty blooming good. In fact, with the air suspension, you feel like you're driving a luxury limousine, only one that's on stilts. It also has the best engine. The 3-litre V6 diesel in this is just smooth, it's quiet, and it's fast as well. When you put your foot down, it just goes. It helps the fact that I've got a really smooth 8-speed automatic gearbox, which is right on point. It responds quickly. As for the economy, well, I'm averaging 32 miles per gallon, or doing pretty much the same. That being the case, I'll definitely take this one to drive.
So then, where does all that leave us?
Well, the Volvo XC90, it's a really good car. It's great for families and it looks absolutely lovely. It just doesn't feel quite as posh as the other two, such as the Land Rover Discovery. You know, this has got lots of room in the rearmost row seats. And if you need to do some serious off-roading, this is the car for you. If you don't though, just get the Audi Q7. It feels the most spacious in the middle row. It's super luxurious in the front. It's packed full of the latest technology and it's absolutely brilliant to drive. I actually think it's one of the very best cars on sale today, and that's why it wins this test.
Please like, share and comment on this video and click on our logo to subscribe for more. Or click on the windows to watch the detailed reviews of each of the cars in this test.